Our lives have been so greatly affected by the COVID-19 virus. And one of the ways that it's affected us is with education, the education of our children. It's incredible what has happened, the effect that the virus has had on education in Pennsylvania, in Maryland, and all across the United States. With me this morning is Dr. Jeff Lawson, Superintendent of Schools of the Cecil County School District. He's with us to talk about the virus. I'm Ken Kidrowski, and you're on point. Well, thanks for being with me. This is Ken Kidrowski, and you're on point. And we're on point this morning with Dr. Jeffrey Lawson, the Superintendent of Schools of Cecil County School District. Jeff, thanks for joining me this morning. I'm so glad you're there.
Yeah, thank you, Ken, for having me again. I believe this is our second time, right? It's been a couple of years now. Things were a little calmer 2 years ago when we met.
It's been, I seem to recall maybe it was about 2 years or at least a year and a half ago. And we were able to be there on site with you at the Cecil County School of Technology, and we had the grand tour, and that was a lot of fun. But now in this day and age, this is quicker and faster and safer when you take into consideration all those considerations about the virus. And that leads us to why we're here today is the COVID-19, and who better to talk about the COVID-19 virus and its effect on education but a superintendent of schools. So Jeff, you know, I have a background in education. I taught, I was a school assistant principal and a principal, never climbed the lofty ranks of superintendent, but that's another story. Anyway, the point I'm trying to get to is that I certainly had a lot of training classes at the college level of how to do this in education, how to do that in education, how to deal with Board of Education members, how to deal in any kind of school emergencies, you know, bombs, people coming into the school with guns, you name it. We've been through all this. I don't remember any college level courses ever talking about how do you teach in a pandemic. Surprise, here you are, and everybody looks to you, Jeffrey Lawson, and says, well, what are we going to do next? So, and I hate to say it this way, but did you have to make it up as you went along? What were you thinking?
Well, you know, I think when you work in a group dynamic, when you're part of a team, part of an organization, part of a family for that matter, that when crises hit and difficult times arrive, the natural raw relationships, dynamics emerge. And so when times are hard, the real people start to emerge in terms of relationships you might have with your community, with the Board of Education, with government leaders. They are exposed, good, bad, or indifferent. And I think what you've seen around the state, around the country, frankly, often reflects the health of a culture in a school system or in an organization. And I think the dynamics that we have really have made this successful, whether it's the relationship we have with our Teachers Association, the relationship we have with our Board of Education, our senior leadership, the health department, who has been wonderful. It's all kind of been synthesized, if you will, and that has resulted in the drivers of decisions getting made. And I know that sounds kind of vague, but I just think that in group dynamics, when times get tough, the real you starts to show, kind of thing. And if it was dysfunctional before, it's totally exposed when you get into tough times. If it was healthy before, that gets exposed during the tough times. So we've used that really as a jumping off point for the decisions that we've made along the way, whether it's sports, whether it's when to go back to school 1 day a week, 2 days a week, and those kinds of things. So yeah, I mean, I can speak to more specifics as we go, but that's my broad thinking. You're right. I was never prepared for this. I've been doing this now for 37 years. My line around here is that all I wanted to do was be a math teacher and a basketball coach, back in 1984 or 1985, whenever I started. And here I sit, so yeah, it's been quite the revealing last 10 or 11 months.
Have you gotten a few more gray hairs since last March?
Yeah, that's a problem. I always thought I was going to hang on to what I have left of hair to be, the color it was. And the last 18 months, 2 years ago, it's really started to go gray hard.
I liked what you said, meaning that what you said had a great deal of truth to it, that if your organization is strong, it'll show itself as being even stronger. If there are weak links along the way, those are exposed real fast. If you've got a staff that's really behind you, that becomes clearly evident. If there are, again, people who aren't on board, they show themselves very, very fast. So, well, here you are now. It's coming up on almost a year that you've had to deal with this. So you must have heard a lot. I mean, your ears must be buzzing all the time. So what are the most common concerns you've heard from the community and the staff along the way?
Well, I would say the most common theme over the last 11 months has been that people tend to fall on one of two sides, and they tend to fall very hard in terms of they believe strongly that students should all be back now, or that we should stay remote. And despite all of this, we still have 35 to 40% of our students and their families who are saying that they want to stay all virtual for now. So, and then within minutes of sending out an announcement, whether we're coming back or if we're closing, I can expect emails coming very hard, very emotional on one side or the other. So that's been a real theme. I think families with younger children tend to be much more aggressive in terms of wanting their children back to school. The common thing I hear is that students are safe, that there is no evidence that shows students are succumbing, if you will, to the coronavirus. But as a school system, we have to be sensitive to our 2,000 employees as well. And when we closed down on November 13th, we were to the point where we had quarantined more than 500 of our staff between September 8th and November 13th. So it makes it almost impossible to run a school system because you simply can't replace the people who are out for some of the mandatory quarantine rules. And so that was, very specific in the weeds kind of detail. But that's really been the biggest struggle. There's this misnomer out there that teachers don't want to come back to work. And I would counter that that's just not true. There are some that are afraid, and rightly so. But by the same token, our people have expressed a willingness to come back. We had students in school the entire first marking period. Ken, don't hold me to this. We may have been the only county in the state of Maryland to do that. So we have really tried to push the envelope in terms of bringing our students face to face. We're bringing back more this coming Monday, and on any given day, we'll have 4,000 to 5,000 students in school. And hopefully in the coming weeks, we can expand that. But we're not going to push unless we're confident that we can keep our people safe.
I agree with you. I have a real problem with TV commentators, community leaders, people who think they know it all, who like to suggest serving or selfish or something like that, and that they don't want to do what's best for the students. I have a real problem with that because I know otherwise. I know that that's not true based on my own experience in the past and educators that I know now in present time, both on both sides of the border, both in Pennsylvania and in Maryland, of course. They want what's best for the students. Their hearts are aching that they can't do more for their students, and they're limited by staring into a laptop or whatever other video equipment the school district might provide for them. So what you're saying is very, very true. It's like I say, I used to hear from people who retired from education saying, I'm glad I retired because I couldn't handle it now. And now I hate to say it, but now that I'm retired, I can't imagine, Jeff, I can't imagine what your day is like. I just can't. Wow. It's just, and I wish the people who are watching this right now, you know, maybe they say, well, listen, he's a high paid guy. I'm not going to feel sorry for them. But they should have some compassion because you're at the helm and, you know, you're directing where the school district is going. And my God, you know, heavy is the head that wears the crown. And, you know, so much responsibility and so much thinking and so much considerations. And I don't know if you even sleep at night.
Yeah, you know, the last few months haven't been too great on the sleep scene. Historically, I've been a great sleeper, but not lately. You know, one thing I think this has revealed, I will say this, and literally I've gotten thousands of emails over the last 10 or 11 months, and I try to answer every one of them. And I would say the vast majority, literally 98, 99% are very respectful. I do think there's a sense out there among the community, among our staff, that these are not easy times. I think me being in my third year now, superintendent, has helped because I think I've been able to establish a degree of trust among our community. And so I think they realize my heart's in the right place. We're trying every single day. I try to be open and honest with the way we're doing things, knowing that some people will disagree, some will agree, and you know, I let others judge my performance. But I try to be very thoughtful, listen to opinions from everybody, and try to make sense of it all. And I think one thing that's really emerged for me, Ken, and again, I've been doing this a long time, and I spent a lot of years as a principal and assistant principal in Wilmington. And I know the tremendous impact that school level staff have on students. And we are seeing just literally thousands of students not being nearly as successful as they typically would be if we're back face to face. And that's because it could be an assistant principal who spends a lot of time with a student who's at risk. It could be the child's English teacher, school counselor, take your pick. And, you know, those relationships that some of our students who struggle really, really are profound. I mean, frankly, I was one of those kids. And, you know, some of our students truly need us. And the schools are the best parts of their lives each day, whether it's getting consistent meals, whether it's being treated with dignity and respect and not hearing profanity on a regular basis. So we know that. And that's what makes this really gut-wrenching, is to know that a lot of the kids who need us most are not back in school at this moment. And really, that's what drives me to really push and do everything we can to get our students back in buildings.
Some people seem to hold to the industrial image of what schools are like, and like schools are factories, and they're stamping out the students. But that's not true at all. There's the humanity involved, and as you say, the kids, at whatever age level, whatever grade, they need that contact with caring professionals who not only know the subject matter, and they better know the subject matter, but who also have a good heart and who knows what they might need as a student to be successful. If they're having a hard time, to help them get over those hard times, or to help them work out something with their parents if necessary, whatever it is. Guidance counselors, teachers, nurses, assistant principals, and as somebody who was an assistant principal for longer than any sane person should have been an assistant principal. I hate the image. I hate the image of the traditional, like in Ferris Bueller. This assistant principal is always trying to catch somebody doing something wrong. But I will suggest to people watching that assistant principals and principals are really trying to find ways of making life easier for their students. So. And that's being lost in this pandemic right now, that human touch, that human touch. Okay. Well, when this is all said and done, Jeffrey Lawson, what do you think is going to be the biggest takeaway? What do you think is going to be the biggest lesson learned?
That's a great question. I think it goes to what I just touched on, the profound effect that the staff in our schools have on the students' lives. And I don't mean simply getting a B or an A. I'm talking about the success, the reason they come to school. We see so many students who simply log on their computer and then don't engage at all. And so what we've known all along is that education is a people business has simply been validated through this last 10, 11 months of crisis, which is what it is. I mean, we're seeing thousands more students failing classes than we ordinarily would see. January 27th was the end of the second marking period. And so we're going through and sorting grades right now, taking a look at how they're, and we know what's happening. So my biggest takeaway, it's a great question, Ken, is that it's such a fundamental issue. It just validates what we knew all along, how critical it is to have a trained, functional teacher, adult counselor involved in a child's development.
The last time we met, previous show that we did together, you talked about different changes to public schools. And one of the things that you talked about was how schools had to become harder. And I mean harder in the aspect that they can no longer be soft targets. We talked about security for schools. So over the past few years, schools have had to change in becoming more highly defensed, if you will. And I'm probably not saying that exactly right, but doors that lock, buzzers that buzz, TV cameras that let you know who's at the door and all that stuff. So schools have learned that, and now with COVID-19, learning a lot of things, learning a lot about home instruction, learning a lot about absolutely how important that human touch is in the classroom. So yeah, we're all learning, and you and your staff is certainly learning. So let's see. So the biggest impact, and I got to look toward the day, maybe toward the end of 2021 when this is mainly behind us, hopefully, knock on wood. What do you think is going to be the long-term impact as we go forward? In other words, when people either don't have to wear masks or are wearing few masks, what do you think will be remaining in the schools that started because of the virus?
I think there's been some real public education as an industry, if you will. There's been some real change that is long-term and will be sustained beyond this. What we're doing now, some of the advances in technology. We were in a good place with technology when we broke and we shut down back on March 13th of 2020. And that just revealed how well positioned and prepared we were for this. And we've only gotten better. So I think that has real merit in terms of having technology become, and what I'm calling synchronistic technology. What you and I are doing right now is synchronistic. We're going back and forth in real time. So I do think that's sustained. We are now posting our report cards online, that kind of thing. All the contracts I get now are signed online. So there are some things I think will last. But the human touch, again, we've got to get back to that. I just had a conversation with Ann Gelrich, who's our executive director for secondary schools. And right now, high school principals are looking to see what they might be able to do for our high schools in the way of a prom or graduation. And so, maybe a prom is going to be an outside event where students can't, because obviously, outside appears to be much safer than inside. So I do think it's changed us, Ken. I do think it's changed us for the long run. And our goal will be to make as much good out of this as we can. Well,
I don't have too much advice to give you, Jeff, because I wasn't there in the pandemic when I was in the administrative classroom, rather in an administrative office. What I have to say is really to the public listening is that, you know what, folks? You're getting your money's worth with the taxes that you pay. You're absolutely getting full value, because these people, not only in the Cecil County schools, but you folks who are listening anywhere in Pennsylvania, in Maryland or across the United States on YouTube. Really, you're getting your money's worth, because these professionals are, if they were operating on 12 cylinders right now, pushing it to the limit, going hard and fast to deliver the right educational product for your students. So Jeff, all I can say, and I don't mean to turn this into a prayer session, but my thoughts and prayers are for you and your staff. My best wishes are for you and your staff. And I hope that the rest of the school year is successful for you, with you. And I hope that this virus just fades away in time, and that we can just take the lessons and profit from them in the future.
Well, Ken, I would just close out with, not a day goes by where I'm not thankful and realize that I'm blessed to work in this school system. When I decided to pursue this job and take this job, I knew I would do this till I retire. This is my last job, unless you find me in aisle 14 at Lowe's when I'm 68 years old, wandering around looking for electrical circuits. But this is it for me. And I couldn't be more pleased with the community, the staff, our board. I'm a lucky guy, and I don't take that for granted. So thank you, Ken.
Jeffrey Lawson, Superintendent of Schools at the Cecil County School District. Jeff, it's always a pleasure. I hope the next time we meet on TV like this, it'll be for a happier time, not so serious. But it's always a pleasure talking to you, sir. You are a great guy to be superintendent in the Cecil County School District. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much, Ken. Good seeing you.
And for you people out there, please stay tuned. I'll give you the lesson review in just one moment. Well, what did we learn today? Well, we learned that Dr. Jeffrey Lawson, Superintendent of Schools at the Cecil County School District, has so much on his plate. And if that isn't an understatement, so much on his plate. He has to be concerned about what's best for the students, what's best for the staff, what's best for the community, what's best for the county. It goes on and on and on. Boy, oh boy, I hope this guy can keep his hair. Really, truly, such stress going on, not only for the superintendent of schools, but for everybody concerned with education everywhere, including the Cecil County schools. Having to worry about getting the right lessons out, having to worry about having the right technology so that students can receive their lessons at home. And as Jeff talked about, one of the things that gets lost in the equation is the human touch, the ability of the teachers, the entire staff to work directly with the students to bring out the best of public school education. Well, I hope you learned something. And once again, I learned a lot here. My name is Ken Kudrowski, and you've been on point.